Ladies and gentlemen, DBNA Television is proud to bring you a Roar Media production, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. If you do not know him, you better Google him. He was a high school Hall of Famer, school record holder, 10-time letter winner. He was just a boy with a ball and a young man with visions of greatness from the land of Hoosiers. When his playing days were over, he wanted to give back to the game that provided him purpose. He had found his passion on the hardwood. 14 years college coaching, multiple regional and conference championships, multiple national rank programs, coached the National Player of the Year. Winning followed him to 15 seasons professional coaching, multiple championships, multiple Coach of the Year honors, near 780 win percentage. He placed over 100 players to their respected national teams that represented their countries at the World Championships and Olympic Games. He has coached current and former NBA stars. His purpose is now to serve, empower, inspire. Here he is, host of the Coach Scott Field Show. Make some noise, show some love. Host Scott Field.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're watching us from around the globe. I say thank you for allowing us into your homes, and most importantly, into your hearts. If you're watching us on the DBNA television network today, a sincere thank you for your support of the network, the shows, and the sponsors. Continue to support this outstanding talent that you see throughout the network. If you're listening to us in podcast form today, Kelly and I say turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. We're about to have a great show here today. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Coach Scott Field Show. Also like and follow us on our Facebook Live channel, The Coach Scott Field Show. It's time to lace them up for The Coach Scott Field Show. And today, for the next 52 minutes, we are in for a treat. I've told Kelly this for about a week now. I'm so excited. I feel like a kid before Easter, a kid before Christmas. I'm just pumped up. Kelly, how are you today?
No, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Scott.
Come on. This is going to be outstanding. So, Kelly, I just want the viewers to know that I came across your story as I was watching Project 11 on ESPN. It's the story of Alex Smith and that traumatic injury that he went through. And I saw this gal in the background as he went down to San Antonio and he was getting consultation. And I heard your words to him and I said, that gal has a story and I need her on my show. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and being a part of it.
Well, I appreciate it, Scott. And as we kind of joked on the phone, I appreciate you kind of mini stalking me to to give me this opportunity. But no, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And I appreciate, you being able to kind of capture that, what, the words that I had for Alex and just the whole situation. And then not just Alex, but there's a lot of individuals that are in my shoes, Alex's shoes. And just to be able to kind of have someone recognize that's pretty cool. So I appreciate the little workaround you did to get me on the show here today.
Hey, this bald guy was getting his hustle on because I'm like, I've got to get her on the show. So I got to find out how to find her. But later in the show, you've got a much better stock story than what mine was. So we'll have to share that one too.
Yeah, I do.
So Kelly, let's do this. Let's talk about the beginning. I mean, thank you so much, first and foremost, for your service to our country in the many ways that you have done that. You are a para-Olympian. You are a phenomenal athlete. You have a tremendous mindset. But go back to when you first learned that there might have been an issue, with your lower limb, and kind of take our viewers through that story and through that process and how you learned about it.
Sure. I would have to say it was roughly after my first deployment, which would have been, the first deployment was 2002, 2003. And I was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I had this odd spot on my leg where it only bothered me if you touched it. And I just kind of referred to it as, that's that weird spot. It did not grow. There was no discoloration. There was no change in size. It was just that one area. And if you bumped it, it was pain out of proportion. And I can go back and I can look at, some incidences where, I'm like, wow, that really hurt. And it just kind of sticks with you. So I carried on. I had another 2 deployments to nursing school at UNC, and I had their sports medicine. I had other individuals in the military take a look at it. I had multiple MRIs, and there were no red flags. And I was also in the medical community, and I'm transitioning from a combat medic to a nurse. I didn't have any red flags either. It was just, hey, what is this weird thing? Let me have it checked out. And each time that I went somewhere new, I was seeking out just another opinion to see if somebody else could kind of put a name to it. Because sometimes it's hard to understand some things in life, regardless of what they are, until you have a name to it or a reasoning or something. So for me, being in the medical field, it's like, I'm just trying to seek out a diagnosis. I finished nursing school at UNC, and I asked to come down to Fort Sam down here in San Antonio, and I wanted to work with the Wounded Warriors. And lo and behold, they prepared me for, the most trying time of my life. Unfortunately, I was only on the floor for maybe 2 years. But those incidences, those situations, those interactions with all of, the family members, the service members, their kids, their parents, that really kind of got my mindset, into the, hey, why would you do this? Why are you keeping a leg? Why are you now getting rid of a leg? I was very much into the mental aspect, and I thought I was doing it to provide them with better care so that I could understand their reasoning and where they're coming from. And I'm also a people person. I chose nursing because I value connections, and, I like to connect to people, and I liked to have just that extra depth, when it came to caring for them. I believe I had like 14 years in, and there's periodic checks that we have to have, medical checks that we have to have. And I ran it past a provider, and I said, hey, I got this weird spot on my leg. Can we do another MRI? Because I was on an ortho floor, and I knew the capabilities that we had in orthopedics were much greater than any other place I had been. And I thought, let me give this one more chance. Plus, I'm on the downhill slope to retirement. I'm thinking maybe I'll get something here and pad my records. I didn't know that I was going to be coming back with literally reams of paper for records, at one point. So even after I had this MRI, it was misdiagnosed, and I did a small procedure, nothing big. But that small procedure basically it sclerosed all of the arteries and veins around the actual tumor. So I was left with, a rock in my leg. And for about 6 weeks, I was like, this isn't right. I can hardly walk. We were kind of scratching our heads, and I went back to my ortho-oncologist, and he said, hey, I got a few things that I think it is, but I really think we need to just cut that leg open and let's just take a quick look. All right, fine. Again, it's a small procedure, even though, you're cutting it open. And nowhere on that list of things that he suspected, was this tumor. And it still didn't really sink in until I had a nurse that worked in the post, surgery unit finally say, Kelly, I'm so sorry that it's cancer. So I had went through all this stuff. Even my provider came out and he said, my spider senses, is correct. Because when they're in surgery and they think that it's potential tumor, they'll send it off to pathology, and they'll do a really ASAP quick test you might not get the details of it, but you're going to know, is this thing cancerous? Is it benign? What's going on? Just a real quick down and dirty. And he came back and said, it's a sarcoma. I'm in the PACU. I'm like, I'm not thinking clearly. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. I know what that is, but I just couldn't piece things together until that nurse, said, I am so sorry that it's cancer. And in that moment, I knew. I was like, my life has changed. My road is going to be long. My road is going to be hard, and things are not going to take a direction into a new normal for me. I knew from taking care of all those individuals.
How old were you when you first noticed the lump or the nodule or the spot on your leg? And then I know you mentioned before that you were deployed a couple of times, and maybe some of the toxins may have expedited that whole process. Kind of share that with us.
Right. So I was roughly 21, 22 when I first noticed the symptoms, and this particular sarcoma that would fit. That would fit kind of the demographics of, who gets the tumor and at what age, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was 33 when I was finally diagnosed. So that thing sat in my leg for, 10 plus years. So that in itself, that it didn't metastasize, it didn't get bigger, it was in an odd place for this particular, sarcoma. So that was kind of another reason why there wasn't red flags and it was missed. Going back to the potential toxins and what was it? It was in talking with some of the functional medicine providers that I've been linked up with in the last, several years, just in general with health, because, when you're going through cancer treatments, that takes a toll. And I tried to do reconstructive surgery, then I did amputation, and I had, some other areas of my body that we did graft sites from. So now I have problems in those. So, it's a whole body system problem. That's what it ends up being. And, you're constantly exposed to, drugs, antibiotics, narcotics, and that wears the stress, that stuff wears on your body. So, I found these functional medicine providers and, they go back from the beginning and, it's like, tell me about stress, tell me about childhood, tell me about how things were, because they want to know, like, how hard is your system been working? And, looking back, even with some of the friends that I've had, and so young and such rare incidences of these cancerous, tumors or just diseases, I really think a lot of them can probably attribute it to, our deployments and what we were exposed to. And will we ever know? In my lifetime, I don't know. I mean, let's look at Agent Orange. We're finally recognizing that, and that's taken, quite some time. So, I don't regret it. I'm not sad about it. It's not one of those things I dwell on. I hope someday they can figure those things out a little bit better. But in the meantime, we're moving forward.
Yeah, because I mean, you were an athletic individual anyway, and very fit, and and competed in races and things like that. And of course, with that in your body, your immune system and your autoimmune system is working overdrive. Were you feeling like fatigued as it continued to metastasize like it was, or kind of take us through that? And then what was your mindset as you were starting to notice more and more pain in that area?
So it didn't metastasize. Metastasize is when it spreads to other areas of the body. So mine just stayed local in the leg, which, again, extremely, extremely fortunate for it to hang around that long in your body and not move to another area. Obviously, I was very concerned with the pain after we did that mini procedure and also before it was diagnosed. And then after being diagnosed, because we had done that mini procedure on it, now the concerns were, we didn't know what it was. We went in, we did this procedure. Did we piss it off? And if we pissed it off, it could metastasize. So really, my, ortho-oncology team the ball was rolling, and it was rolling really, really quick. Cause it's, they're just like, this is not something you play with. And we accidentally played with it. So fortunately for me, it didn't, I had multiple scans. I sought out some second opinions because doing limb salvage on that particular type of tumor was rather new at the time. So I wasn't really seeking out a second opinion for diagnosis as I was, what would you do with the limb? And, everybody said, if you can be cancer-free, give it a try, but again, the choice was mine. And I felt like me being me and my mindset, I have to give this a try.
Where exactly was it located? If you can kind of explain to us anatomically where it was located on the leg.
So if you dead smack right between the knee and the ankle, And then I actually had to have quite a bit, when we tried to save the leg, quite a bit of my tibia removed because it was right up against the tibia. So when you take out tumors of the leg, what you basically cut out an entire circle. So everything around it. So if it's touching it, it goes. So I had bone, I had ligaments, I had muscle, I had skin, I had, everything. And then this is in the lower section of your limb where you don't have a lot to begin with. So originally when they took it out, I didn't have enough skin that they could even cover it up. So I ended up having a graft done from my arm where they took out quite a bit of skin, tissue, and an entire major artery from my arm, and they placed that in my leg. And then they took skin from my hip to replace with, the skin that they removed from my arm. So some people are like, why did you take skin from your arm and then from your hip? Well, what came out of my arm was not just skin. It was also skin in that tissue. Now, it wasn't muscle, but it was thick layer because I had to have something to cover that bone. And in order to put that larger piece in another section of the body, you have to have a blood supply. So they had to take out the entire artery out of my arm so that this section of skin would survive in my leg.
Wow. I think of the amount of hours, and thank goodness for the advances in medicine and technology for them to even, put that into practice to try to salvage, limbs and things like that. But here you are going through this process. How long did a surgery like that take, and how did they prepare you mentally for those types of surgeries and procedures?
Well, that particular surgery, so actually, let me back up. The first surgery that we had, and this was, to do the initial resection of the tumor. I felt like I was extremely prepared because of my background as a medic, now as a nurse, and then I was a nurse on an ortho floor, now I'm a patient on my own floor. And I think having the experiences that I did, seeking out the second opinions, and just, I think I had enough time to reflect and say, this is what it is. And my daughter was 2.5 at the time, 3. So, for me, the first thing that I told my surgeon was, I just want to be a mom. I don't care what you do to my leg. I just want to be a mother. Wow. So, I can't say that I didn't care because I did, but I was just like, let's get this going. I want to get this over with because I want to see what's on the other side. I want to see what I can do. And I want to get to whatever that is because I'm not used to being held up.
I understand exactly what you're saying right there after going through just a minor, I'm going to call mine a minor reconstructive surgery compared to what you've had to go through. And then, you talk about your daughter and, wanting to be a mom for her and, being around for her. And I'm sure those are the types of thoughts that are going through your mind because that natural maternal innate instinct to be that mother figure for her. But yet, I'm concerned for me, but you've always put people before yourself. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. And just the fact that with your servant heart right now and sharing this story and sharing those vulnerabilities, I just see you as so brave and so courageous. And you're like, hey, if this is what it is, let's do it and let's go.
I'm a very matter-of-fact individual. Probably some people don't like it. I'm kind of a take it or leave it, but I don't want fluff. When I met my coach, I said, I don't want fluff. Tell me if I'm doing it right. If I'm not doing it right, I'm here because I want to get better. And, I kind of approach situations like that. I'm also very realistic where, you can go to the race and you can win, but you can also lose. You can also crash. All those scenarios are possible because that's just what life throws at you. So I think when it came to my daughter, it's like, all right, this is what life threw at me. But again, I look back and I reflect on all those individuals that I took care of and all their kids up there. And I said, I'm going to be just like them. They're doing the best that they feel that they need to do for, their family. And ultimately that's why I ended up, one of the reasons why I selected amputation. It's not that limb salvage failed, because I'll have some people tell me that. And I don't necessarily like when that's said because limb salvage didn't fail for me. Limb salvage cured me of cancer. Limb salvage, we tried it. It just wasn't the best option for me. And there's things that I learned in that process. So I don't regret it. Do I wish that I would have cut my leg off sooner? I do. However, that's just, I chose that, and that's kind of what comes with it. And, those are the things that you live and learn with in life.
Wow.
But I think one of the defining moments for me was my daughter she was into soccer at the moment, and we were learning to pass. And of course the passes are all over the place, and I don't have a lot of agility. I have pain. The leg doesn't work right. I mean, I'm dragging around a leg, and I had complete foot drop. So that's basically when you try it. Yes. The toes point toward the ground all the time. So, your back hurts, your hip hurts. I spend more time on my right side, it just down the left.
You're just overcompensating. Yeah,
absolutely. And I got so upset with her because the pass didn't come to me, and I had to go get the pass, and I felt bad because I'm like yelling at, now at the time, I think she was like 6, this kid who's trying to learn something. I'm trying to be a parent. But the thing was, I wasn't happy with me. I wasn't happy with the type of parent I was. I did not see a future going forward. And I felt like I had this ceiling that was so low, it was just smashing me down. And I was like, this is dumb. We have got to go a different direction. And, it really took feeling guilty as a parent, some soul searching to say, why are you so mad? Like, why are you so upset? And that's what it came down to, is I was not happy with the direction that, my leg was taking me.
How many surgeries had you had up to that point for limb salvage?
Oh gosh. Probably close to 10 at that point. Because again, I mean, I had to have some additional surgeries on my arm because I had some nerve problems from my arm. And I think going back to, you had asked how long some of those surgeries were. The first 2 surgeries where we did the initial resection, and then where we did the graft out of my arm into my leg, both of those were 12 to 14 hours. So
oh my goodness.
I sat in, a 12 to 14 hour surgery on a Friday. And then I think I turned right around on a Monday, and because you had asked, how did I prepare? So on that Monday, I saw the plastic surgeon, because he's the one that actually did the graft site. And he said, this is what I would do, for my daughter, for my wife. I worked him around. I was like, find another site. I mean, finally he kept coming back. He was very patient with me, but I mean, I was like, just slamming him. I'm like, no, you're not taking the arm. And finally I'm like, okay, like there's no other option. You know what I mean? I have worked this guy over. And he said, I have an opening tomorrow morning. So I was not prepared for that one. And it took me a while to say that I wanted to amputate my leg, because I'm like, I did all this to my arm. I took my arm out. I had this big, long scar. I still have problems with my arm. And I felt like if I was cutting off my leg, that it was all for nothing. And I had a moment like that. And then I had that moment then with my daughter playing soccer. And I was like, screw the arm. Yeah. You've got to do something different. And you're not moving forward. And that's the other thing too. Move forward. And I wasn't moving forward.
Yeah. Wow. And see, when you mentioned a little bit ago, you talked about drop foot. I actually have rheumatoid arthritis, and I had a Baker's cyst form behind my knee. And when I was flying home from Austria, I think the pressure in the plane caused that Baker's cyst to erupt. And when it erupted, of course, it deadened all the nerves, and I too ended up with drop foot for like 9 months and was in a splint. And because then I went back and was coaching in Germany, and I was in this splint hobbling around going, my goodness, when are these nerves going to come back to life? So I know what it is to have that feeling, and you're looking down trying to tell your foot to do something, and it just won't respond.
It doesn't do it.
Right. And so I get that, because I was frustrated, and it's like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? And they're like, hey, it could take 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 13 months. It will come back. Just be patient. I'm like, man, I'm a young guy trying to be active with my arthritis, because motion is my lotion, but yet I couldn't move with my drop foot. So I get that. But yet here you are going through all these surgeries, which is so traumatic on your body. Your immune system is working extremely hard. You're trying to raise a mother. And I know in our phone conversation about a week ago, you mentioned when you finally made that choice to amputate, you said it was very liberating. Talk
Oh,
to us through that.
absolutely.
Share that moment with us.
Absolutely. I mean, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders when I spoke to my surgeon about it. And again, going back to being the realist that I am, I I have known this man now for quite some time. And, when you have that many surgeries and you get to, be pretty intimate in terms of the struggles, your goals, family, and that's just how he is also. He's very personal, and the first question was, what do you want to do in life? What are your goals? And that's when I said, make me a mom first. And then, by the way, I want to do these things. And that's the direction that he'll take you. If I said, hey, I want to sit at home on the couch and that's all I want to do, he'll take you in that direction. So, it was a partnership that we developed. And wow. I still had, this nervous sense because I had to go talk to this man and say, here's how I feel, and ask him to cut off my leg. And he could tell me yes, or he could tell me no. And I prepared myself for both of those because I've heard a lot of horror stories, with other friends or individuals that I've encountered where, they're struggling more than I was struggling. And their surgeon said, no, there's not a reason to take it off. And I disagree with that because the mental toll that it took, and I'm like, you're willing to let someone just be in pain, not just physically, but also mentally, and not be able to be the person. And, we can talk about the spiral effect, what that does for them, for their family, for the healthcare system, et cetera, et cetera. So, do I think everybody needs amputation? No, not necessarily, but the ones that I've encountered, so they're out there. Those stories are out there where they're like, they won't cut it off. So I have that in the back of my head. I also have he could tell me no. So you need to be prepared to hear no. But I said, I got to do this. I have to make this leap. So I sat down. I said, here's how I've been feeling. I have to get some things off my chest to you. And I didn't even get to ask him. And he said, I think you're asking me that you want me to cut off your leg. And I kind of laughed, but I had tears, and I was like, yes, that's what I'm asking. That's what I want you to do. And he's like, I would be honored to cut your leg off. And it was so, liberating. It was so freeing. It was, tears of joy. I just felt like I could finally take a deep breath because I was going to be able to turn the page and start a new chapter. And, did I know that things were going to go back to normal for me, as close to normal as possible? No, but I felt I had exhausted all efforts in the direction we were going, and I had to try something different.
Wow. And I'm trying to put myself in that mindset with you to say, okay, I know for my quality of life, I want to lose this leg so I can be a better mom, be in a better mindset and a mind frame to be a better mom and be able to function as normal as possible, mentally, physically, spiritually. I mean, that all goes into that. And I'm hearing you tell that story, and I'm just in awe. And I'm like, that's a wow moment to hear you say, let's amputate because I want to be the best mom that I can be. Phenomenal. And I wish more people, because there's got to be people and listeners and viewers of this show who are hearing the pain and struggles that you were going through, but yet to say, I'm going to weigh this out. And yes, I'm choosing to cut off my leg so I can have that lifestyle again. Wow.
It's almost like an oxymoron. You're gonna cut a body part off to be better.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound right. And that's the difficulty that I had explaining that to my daughter was, I'm cutting this off because I'm going to be better, because she begged me not to do it.
And how old was she then?
She was probably 6.
So, okay. Wow.
She was probably 6. So, but I just kept telling her, I'm going to be better for it. Just wait, be patient. And, and it was so hard to have her say, no, mommy, no, mommy, no, mommy. But at the same time, tell her, I have to do this. Talk about tugging at the heartstrings right there. Oh. It was pretty painful for a little, but I knew, I absolutely knew deep down that this was the direction that I had to go. And, I don't think any of us would cause our kids pain intentionally. So for me to like cause for that pain, I'm like, sweetheart, like I have to do this.
Man, I'm getting emotional here. You tell the story. My goodness. And so now you've committed. You're ready to make this jump. You've made the decision. The surgeon has now made the decision along with you, that partnership. Take us through the feelings that you had before you went under the knife to remove the leg. And then when you came to, now that the surgery was over, was it like, did you put your hand down to like, is it there? Or was it you just kind of coming to and the nurses were saying, hey, Kelly, you're doing great? Or kind of take us through that moment when the amputation has happened, and how long did that surgery take?
Sure. That one took a little bit longer than it should have taken as well. I know. Me in hospitals and surgeries and being a nurse, I swear. So part of the reconstruction of my leg, when I tried to save it, is we end up putting a nail. So it goes from your knee to your ankle. So remember when I said I had to have quite a bit of that tibia removed? Well, it was such a large gap that the bone wasn't going to fill in, and I really needed something structurally to help me. So we ended up doing a carbon fiber nail, which was brand new, hot off the press, just FDA approved. And the reason why we end up going that route is the traditional nails in the material during x-rays, sometimes you can have artifacts and they can't distinguish, is it artifacts or is it the cancer, coming back. So this carbon fiber, if you take an x-ray, it doesn't look like you have anything in your leg. Yes. So it's much easier to distinguish, are we having a reoccurrence of, the cancer? So I said, let's do it. Well, that material is a little soft, so it took forever for them to pull it out of my leg, because I had to pull that out my leg, because again, we're only amputating, we're going below the knee, whereas that nail goes up to the knee. So it took them forever to pull that out. They end up cutting my leg off around the nail.
Oh my goodness, Kelly.
And hammering the nail out, because it goes up, out through, they'll move the kneecap aside and they push it up out through your leg. So because I came out and I was like, I was in there for a long time. I'm like, what happened? Are we okay? Did everything go okay? And they're like, well, yeah, the amputation went great, but we couldn't get that bleepity bleep nail out, because I asked to keep it. So you can see there's a mark, there's a ring around the nail where they sawed off the leg and, got rid of the nail.
Wow.
Going into it, of course I'm nervous, before every surgery, I'm a little nervous, because again, I've been around them. I know. And then the more you expose yourself, the more chances, the higher the risk of something happening. And I did have some serious complications. So of course I'm a little bit nervous, but again, it's, risk reward type thing. That's kind of how I felt. And it's just like, I've been around these individuals. I know the surgeon, I trust him, I got to take a chance and move forward. But he asked me, he was just like, one last time. He's like, are you ready for this? And I'm like, I am ready. Like, let's go there. Take me back. Let's go do this. It was pretty rough afterwards, which I think most of them are. But just the way that they kind of reconstructed, because my skin, I had to have radiation. So we had to kind of reconstruct the skin a little bit differently. Then I had some complications again, and I had some basically necrosis, which is dying of the skin. So they had to go back in and take it all down and wash it out and things like that. So it really wasn't it was a rough road afterwards. I was not upset with my choice at all. It was just, it took me a while to get to the point where I could finally put on a prosthetic in comparison to most.
Wow. And then can you remember how long did it take for you to get fitted? And and obviously that skin has got to grow and have good blood supply, because now you're just going to be rubbing on that skin. So kind of take us, was it just a few months, or was it like a year before you were fitted for a prosthetic? And then what was it like to reteach yourself to now walk with a prosthetic?
So I amputated in August, and my first prosthetic was probably just before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Of that year. And typically, you can be in one in about 6 weeks. You might not be wearing it for long, but you can be in one. So the very first time I put on, and they kind of make temporary molds of your leg because your leg is going to shrink very, very quick. And then just in general, you don't go straight to the final product. You know, there might be some little tweaks and things like that. So I put it on, said, hey, this feels great. And my prosthetist, so he was the same prosthetist that I had when I kept my leg and worked through it. So again, we have a very long partnership too.
Yeah.
And he said, give me a second. He went back, he put a foot and a leg on it, and I grabbed it and I just started walking. And he was like, you're not supposed to be doing that. I am. I'm just walking. And you got to understand, the gait that I had for 3+ years with the leg, the dead leg, you know, essentially was horrible. I mean, it was horrible. Like some people will call it my pimp walk, you know, depending if I had a brace on, you know, or no brace on. I mean, I felt like my grandmother sitting in the mall if I didn't have it on, because there's sometimes I'm like, I just want to wear a sandal. I don't want to wear this big, heavy, bulky brace, but I couldn't walk that far, you know? So my gait was bad. So part of it is going back to a normal gait. And that was one of the things that I promised myself. I said, I will have a normal gait again. It was very important to me. And that was one thing that I worked super, super hard on. It didn't take me long, honestly.
Wow.
Some people it does, some people it doesn't. I feel fortunate. I feel blessed. You know, I do think some of my athleticism helped out in that. But that was definitely, you know, a goal that I had, and I checked that off pretty quickly.
And see, and I think that's phenomenal, because I think that's part of that mindset of saying, okay, you've accepted. You didn't really go through like, okay, I'm grieving. I've lost this part of my leg. You weren't depressed. You're like, no, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to get there. So to me, you already determined the outcome. You knew that you were going to be walking, but then you start training and you're an athlete, and you're racing in road races, and you're biking and swim. I mean, it's phenomenal to me, the things that you've done, because again, I think that championship mindset that you have, you were going to let nothing stop you. And I think that's just amazing.
Well, I appreciate it. That kind of mindset is not just in athletics for me. You know, I feel like that's across the board. Whether it's relationship with, family, with daughter, with husband, friends. It's same thing with military. It was, you're going to tell me no?
I'm going to show you, I'll prove you wrong.
I'm going to prove to you she made a bad decision, and I don't, I really don't know why, I wouldn't necessarily call it like a chip on my shoulder, as it is just, I'm very determined, and it's one of those things where I kind of feel, for the most part, you are the only person that's going to get in the way of you, and I understand not everybody has the right circumstances or the support, there's other external factors, but I would say that, there's quite a few people, that say they can't do it, but only you are getting in the way of you.
Yeah. Great point. Great point there. So now that you've got a prosthetic, you've taught yourself a gait and a walk. How excited were you to get out there and now be with your daughter and play and chase and kick a ball with her, and her to see you take those steps and her to see mommy smile? What did that mean to you?
I mean, that was the first time we went out and ran together, because again, she liked soccer, she got into running, and like, that is what I felt like I did it for, was like, I can go out and run with her and keep up, and I don't have to ride a bike, because sometimes I'm like, I'll ride a bike next to you, and it's like, oh, I just want to run with you. That was cool to be able to look over and I'm next to you. I'm doing this.
Wow.
Like, for years and years and years, I've thought of this. And then
I'm getting goosebumps, Kelly.
Then she didn't want to run with me anymore.
Oh, there you go. Oh my! And so now she's about what? 7 years old, 8 years old, maybe.
Yeah, at this point,
Okay.
7, 8. Yeah, she's doing
Wow.
that. So yeah, she didn't want to run with me anymore. So it's just like, oh, I did all that. Like, I cut my leg off to run with you, and you don't want to run with me. You little. So, but that's what. They change, their interests change so quick, and what's fun for us necessarily is fun for them.
Right, right.
But it's interesting you say is my daughter doesn't have any memories of me other than like a messed up leg. You know,
she was too young, I guess.
She was too young. And I don't even know, I've asked her a few times. I don't really think she has many memories of me with two legs, you know, and if she does, it's probably not, you know, very vivid ones. So the things that she knows is, you know, when she would draw posters to say, "Go mommy," it was like wheelchairs and prosthetics and, you know, carbon fiber to this. And it's kind of different because I didn't grow up that way, you know, so for her to kind of grow up and see that that's normal. We go to a track meet and there's all these things flying down the track. You know, for me, it's like, it was really cool because that's just not the typical thing. And then to see, you know, her friends come around and it's just like, that's your mom.
That's just, that's just mom. It's adaptive sports. That's what we do.
It's wheelchairs. It's this, it's, you know, crutches. It's, you know, this leg, it's that leg. Oh, she's running down the street doing this. So, you know, that has been really awesome, you know, and she's also, I coached wheelchair basketball for the youth. She'll come along for that. And what's so fun is they would get done practicing and she'd jump out of the chair where these kids would get into their day chairs and she's chasing them around in their day chairs. And then they turn around and chase her in their day chairs. And I'm like, you know, it's really kids playing with other kids. And because you got to use a mobility device. And I think that was the thing where I'm just like, man, I hope she gets it, because that right there it's pretty cool, you know, to be able to see that, like, we don't care about this other stuff. Like, I just want to have fun chasing you around.
Yeah. And seeing just that inclusiveness to have people in adaptive sports to just function and be like everyone else, because they truly are. And, wow, Kelly, these are just great stories. And, you know, then later, you know, let's fast forward a little bit. Then you're like a spokesperson or a model for the Invictus Games with President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, and now you're in these events. And I mean, take us to that. What was it like to complete your first race, you know, now as an adaptive athlete and a Paralympian?
So actually, my first race, I still had my leg.
Okay.
And that would have been the Invictus Games in 2012, I believe. No, actually, I'm sorry. No, 2016. I'm sorry, 2016. And I was doing wheelchair because that's the adaptive form of running. Yep. That first race that I did, when that gun went off and I crossed the finish line, and I'm like, I'm back. I'm back. I'm relevant. Like, I had all those same butterflies. I just felt like I could get out here. I could do something. You know, you have people cheering. It was very much reminding of me of junior high, high school, and a little bit of college that I did when I went, you know, for track, cross country, basketball and that's the thing that, you know, I thrive on. I love athletics. I love watching it. I love participating. It's my therapy. You know, it's my church. It's all those things wrapped up. And I just felt like, okay, I'm back. I'm relevant. Like, I can do this. You know, I'm a confident person, but I think there's layers of confidence. And that gave me, you know, an additional layer. So fast forward to the first time that I raced as an amputee. I got they call it a multi-purpose leg. So you can run in it, but you can walk in it, but it's not designed like the sprint blades that you see going on track. It's not that at all. I got that, and 3 weeks later, there was a race up in Austin, and they said, hey, if you run a qualifying time, you know, you could get into nationals. And this was 2018. You can get into the Paratriathlon Nationals, and that's where I wanted to be. And I'm like, screw this. I don't care if it's been 3 weeks. I've sat on the sidelines for so long. This is my dream. Get your butt in gear and get up there, and you're going to do this race. Now, mind you, May, it's hot, it's humid, it's sucky. I haven't ran in I don't know how many years, and I just got this prosthetic 3 weeks ago. I went in and I told my prosthetist, and it's still a temporary socket. So it's made of plastic. You know, you have to wrap it to make it secure. And I said, I'm doing this race. And he's like, what'd you say? He's like, you know what, Kelly, I can't stop you. He's like, can I get the leg so I can wrap it a bunch of different times and make it as secure as possible? You sure can. I went up there and I did that race. I ended up getting a qualifying time to make it to the nationals.
Wow.
A month later, I go to nationals and I win nationals, and they said, hey, we want to get you onto, at the time it was called the International Triathlon Union. It's now World Triathlon. We want to get you in one of the World Triathlon. And I believe that was like August, September of 2018. So that was it. That was, here I am. I'm now racing at, the highest level of my sport. And it was a whirlwind, because I was like, I just got a leg. I just did this race. I just did nationals. And now I'm in, another country racing. So I didn't do all that on my own, and that's why I tell people is like, you might see me out front, you might see me in the race, but you have no idea the amount of individuals that got me to where I'm at and continue to get me where I'm at every day and carry me every day. And I can go down medical people. I can go down personal people. I can go down, you run into someone at the grocery store that gives you just a little, nugget of, spirit that day to say, you know what, today's not that bad. I'm glad I ran into that person. All those people keep pushing you forward.
Wow. You think about that list, you got to think of the surgeons, you got to think of the PAs, you got to think of the nurses, you got to think of the rehab therapists, maybe even psychological, counseling. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many people that helped you live and fulfill your dream to be the person you wanted to be. And it's phenomenal. And now fast forward again, you are one of those persons. And that's how I was able to find you when you were on Project 11, when Alex, Smith was doing that documentary on ESPN. And to me, I've been blessed, Kelly. I've worked with some of the best basketball players and athletes around the globe. And to see you and hear your stories and to see the things that you've overcome with your mindset, you are as good of an athlete as any of them. And I'm honored, and I'm a better person just for knowing you. And it's just, and I'm not just saying that because you're here on the show with me, but I just have so much admiration for that mindset, because I too have kind of had to battle with some things with RA. And I know that sometimes, some people might call it stubbornness. Some people might call it hard-headed, but it's just that aspiration and drive and saying, no, you are not going to set my limitations. I'm going to make my own limitations, and I'm going to push through this. And so I love hearing your story and all of that. And then, so now think about it. You've now won medals. You've, represented the country. I mean, so many neat things. And now you've got the military suit back on. You're back at the facility, and now you're back with a servant heart, helping others who are going through the same type of transitions like yourself. How gratifying is it for you to share your stories to help these other individuals and help them heal and soothe?
I mean, it's extremely gratifying. I feel I get more out of that than, so many other things. It's awesome to represent your country. It's awesome to get first place, but there's nothing like having your heart warmed by being able to console someone else, by being able to share with someone else that here's my struggles. I don't know if you're going to go through the same struggles, but it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to need support. It's okay to be afraid, kind of go through some of those things where, especially in the military, where it's more of a, macho kind of nothing bothers you and you have this armor on. And I enjoy that so much. I enjoy taking care of patients. I didn't necessarily enjoy being a patient, but on the flip side, going back and visiting patients that are struggling with that decision, or in the case of like Alex Smith, where they might not have a decision, life might say, we're making this decision for you. And, what do you do? How do you be okay with that? What are some of the things I need to think about? I tell people all the time, I'm just like, just walk around the house like you don't have a leg, or like you don't have an arm, or whatever it is you're getting ready to experience, and that kind of helps you get into that mindset. But the gratification, it's so warming, to be able to walk away, and just be able to, again, the connection. That's what I enjoy so much, is finding a way to connect with that individual and say, and I'll show them, I'm like, here's the leg, here's how you put it on, here's what they did with mine, here's the scars, here's what I went through. Because again, I think sometimes we go back to that understanding is things are a little bit easier to process, when you have a better understanding.
Yeah, and seeing, and I hear your affinity for what you do. I hear the purpose in what you do. And because of your experiences, you now have an innate empathy for these individuals, and they can learn through you visually, but yet I'm sure your words are calming and soothing to them to let them know that no matter what, they're going to be okay, because you've now connected with them and you have a spiritual connection with them. And to me, you cannot put a price tag on the things that you do and how you've been able to help people.
Well, I don't think it's just words. I also think it's actions.
Yes.
That's the other thing too is, I'll still see individuals coming up, hanging out in a wheelchair when I'm like, you need to get off your butt and start walking. There's no reason why you can't be up and can't be walking. Granted, I still use a wheelchair at home. I still need it here and there, but there's some times where it's just like, no, come on. I don't know how I got to the mindset, as a child, but I know that definitely as an adult and having deployments happen as a young adult, one of the things, that has always stuck with me is, I was fortunate enough to come home. Not all my friends were. So I always think that if they're looking down on me, would they be proud of my life? Would they be proud of how I'm living my life? And now being on the flip side of, an injury, a significant injury, it's like, I'm going to choose ability over anything. And I want those other individuals to see, not just with words, but with actions that, I'm choosing ability. And then I also want to make those that didn't get to come home proud that I'm living my life the best that I can.
That's Kelly. That's powerful right there. Let's do this because we've got a few minutes. If people are out there are moved and they are touched, which I know they will be, how can people find Kelly? I mean, tell them your social media outlets, or how to reach you for speaking engagements. I mean, let people know how to find you and reach you. I mean, I had to stalk you.
I was just going to say,
give them an easier path. Give them an easier path.
You can find me how Scott found me.
Oh, that's classic. Oh, goodness.
Oh, I would have to say probably the easiest is Instagram, and it's at the Kelly E, and that's TheeKellie. That's definitely the easiest.
Yeah, and you've got some phenomenal photos that are inspirational, and it's empowering. And, Kelly, I can't thank you enough for your time today to share, trials and tribulations. Your test is now a testimony, and it's a powerful one with full of purpose. And I just have so much admiration and respect, and I can't thank you enough. But do you have any closing words here in the last, couple minutes that you want to share with anybody as we're connecting with these viewers and listeners today?
I think, like you talked about, is how can you contact me? I really don't care what the topic is, but it's of interest to somebody. I'm welcome, more than welcome to share with them. I've had individuals reach out to me who were amputees or females and just say, hey, I was recently an amputee, and how do you put on your liner? How do you put on some of these things? I've had others say, how do you take a shower? So I try to tell people it doesn't matter if you are truly and genuinely interested in, knowing more about the community, if you're an amputee yourself, if you're a cancer survivor, if you're military, if you just want to just say, hey, I want to reach out and learn a little bit more about para sports. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy educating. That's also part of the whole nursing, thing that I do. So I definitely want to be approached by those who are, willing to learn.
Yeah, and see, that's wonderful stuff, Kelly. And like I'm saying, we on our phone conversation, we have the National Ability Center up in Park City that I'd love to connect you with and have you come out and have you speak and have you, work with that community, because again, it's just a special population, and I know you would inspire so many. So I hope we can do that. So to end on a lighter note, tell them the funny stock story that you shared with me to close out the show, because let's end it on some laughs.
All right. Yeah, so I was riding with a friend, and we were going down a hill, and next thing you know, I'm coming to a stop sign. This is out in the country, and this guy pulls up next to me, and I don't know this individual. My friend looks back at me and is like, kind of looks at me like, do you know this person? No, I don't know this person. Make a turn. He follows again, and he comes up and he said, hey, winded. I've been hauling ass trying to catch you. Okay. Can I help you? This is really awkward and weird. And he ended up saying that, hey, that I am a professor out at San Antonio, Texas A&M, and I'm doing a research project on lower limb amputees, and I would love to have you because we don't have anybody with your caliber of athleticism, and I want to get you into the program. And after he got his whole spiel out and we laughed about it, I was like, I'm in, it's game, game on, we'll go ahead and do this. But initially I was ready to blow that guy off.
Well, I can say this. At least I wasn't winded when I finally caught up with you and found you.
He's like, I passed you, Ann.
Oh my gosh. Great story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kelly Elminger. An outstanding story, an unbelievable testimony. Thank you so much again for sharing your story with us. We're going to have you come back on again and share more stories, because it's like a layer of an onion, and we only shed one or two little layers.
Tokyo of that coming up.
Oh, there you go. That's going to be huge, and people will be able to watch that on TV. Correct?
Yeah, they will.
Man, I'm going to be rooting for you hard, girl.
I appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Me, Scott.
Oh, this has been wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is the Coach Scott Fields with another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. I can't thank Kelly enough for sharing her time with us today, and I'm just elated that she was a part of the show, because it's stories like this that truly are empowering and serving and inspirational, and that's what this is all about. Stay tuned for another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show coming up soon. But Kelly, thank you so much. God bless you, and go bring home a gold.
Team USA.
You got it, girl. We'll see you.
Bring it in. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Fields Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production. Don't forget to subscribe to the Coach's YouTube channel. Like and follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have yourself dressed and ready to go in the locker room for the next exciting show coming soon. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Fields Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production.